And we are putting it here. So hopefully we'll see you here in a moment. Let us know when you get here.
You're live on Instagram. People are watching you on Instagram.
All right. Well, we are live. We've had some technical difficulties, so I do apologize. We have some new a new link here that we shared with everyone that had joined us in the previous old link that wasn't working. And of course, we are out there on the social media sites. So I'm Colleen with Portugal the Place, and I do apologize for all of the difficulties that we've had to get online here. If you do have questions, if there's something you'd like to jump in with, we are giving people a chance to try to find us. Not so sure if that's going to work or not, but we are here to answer questions about moving to Portugal. Everything from the visa, getting your VFS appointment, renewals, IMA, to moving your pets, families, how you adjust, how you find a rental, what the new rules are regarding purchases and rentals, all the things that are happening, and of course, the fantastic culture that's here in Portugal. So I don't know if there's anyone out there that can hear me right now, or if there's anyone here that's been able to catch the new link, but we absolutely are here and available to answer any questions if you are if you're available. So one of the things that we are definitely excited to talk about is the fact that Portugal is definitely a destination that has once been rated again as one of the top retirement destinations in the world. Portugal has been rated by independent sources as the number 3 top retiree destination in the world, and that's significant. It's quality of life, it is the culture, it's the safety. There are so many elements that have to do with that. And so once again, Portugal is squarely in the center of folks' feelings about where they could start another chapter and have a new experience. Also, Portugal has continued to be rated as one of the safest countries in the world, rated as number 7, the most safest country in the world. And that's significant because on the Iberian Peninsula, there is a difference between Spain and Portugal. In Europe, it's definitely one of the most favorable ratings that you can get. So having these ratings continue to show the quality of life and the opportunity there is in Portugal is something that just confirms the decisions that so many of us have made. So again, I'm Colleen with Portugal the Place, and we've been here helping people relocate to Portugal for over 5 years. We've been working with people from across the United States and other English-speaking countries. We have folks that have come to us from South Africa, from England, from Scotland, coming to us from Central America, where they're relocating once again, and also, of course, Canada, and so many other places in between. So if you're looking to relocate to Portugal and you're trying to make decisions based on all that crazy information out there that comes across on the social media sites and on the AI chatbots and all of those things, we want to be available to you to be able to answer those questions and to get you straightforward information so that you can help form the decisions you need to make if Portugal's right for you. So that's definitely that we would like to be able to answer for you and to be able to help you with. Also, if you are interested in reaching out to us and scheduling a call, you're more than welcome to do that. The calls are always complimentary, they're always free, and you can reach us. You can schedule a meeting at portugaltheplace.com, and we can absolutely talk to you one-on-one and answer your questions and go through and assist you with that process as well, getting you started and doing a strategic meeting to really plan out the whole process, because it's more than just the visa. It's more than just finding an apartment or getting yourself physically moved from the United States or wherever you are abroad. It is really about a strategic plan and thinking about how it is that you're going to navigate this and what it's going to feel like and what are your goals and how do we accomplish them and keep everything organized and steady through a volatile process. There's just no way around it. Anytime you move abroad, anytime you move from your comfort zone, you're going to find things that are going to feel uncomfortable. And that's part of our goal, is to make sure that we're here and available for you to answer those questions. So we look forward to being able to schedule those calls and to say hello and to really talk about your hopes and desires and what you're looking for when you're considering a move and seeing if that aligns with Portugal. So absolutely. I'm thinking that perhaps there's still people struggling to get over to this link. So we're gonna hang in there. Right now, we're really looking forward to answering folks' questions. So as people are finding us, if they are able to find us, we'll be jumping in and answering those questions. But again, I'm Colleen with Portugal the Place, and we had some technical difficulties on the previous link. So we're just trying to get up and running. So if you do have questions, if you're out there on the live feeds, or if you're trying to get here, feel free to jump in and let us know for sure. Meanwhile, it's June in Portugal, and this is festival season. So one of the things that we love about June is that every year you see this country just light up with all kinds of activities for people of all ages. You have festivals in the large cities like Lisbon and Porto, where people are out and enjoying food and atmosphere and just celebrating life together. You have small villages that do festivals for everything from Bafanas to the sardines, which are so incredibly iconic in June. If you want to try a sardine, this is the month to absolutely try them. And it's going on across Portugal at the moment, grilling sardines, being out with your friends, listening to music, enjoying this absolutely fabulous weather. This is the time of year that people are really leaning into that experience in Portugal. And of course, the World Cup is on, and Portugal is so excited. Football is truly a foundational pillar of Portugal. So you can only imagine that right now the flags are out, the big screens are up at the bars, and everybody is really rooting for Portugal and the World Cup in general. And just, you see so much fun when the families come out, when kids, adults, everybody gets out and about, and they just root for their favorite teams and enjoy the camaraderie of the team sport and, of course, the World Cup. So much going on in June. Portugal is definitely one of those destinations that in the summer, everything comes alive, but June is really special with festival season, and you'll find something for everyone, from the large cities to the tiniest villages. They've got their flags out, the music up, and all of those grills going. So it's a great time of year to come and be part of Portugal for sure. So again, we're just trying to kind of work through the fact that we've had some technical difficulty with the link that was actually the original link. So we really do apologize. I believe people may be having difficulty finding us. So we're just going to hang in here for a couple more minutes. Looks like we've got hey, Gary. Hi. Thank you so much. Great to see you from Facebook. Thank you. Thank you. It really is magical here. It looks like Scott got the email. Thank you again. We are definitely working our way through all of these different problems here this afternoon with not having our stream going. So it looks like our first question here is, if you go on a D7 visa, can you start working right away? And can you travel to Italy for work? So the D7 is 2 steps. So from the period of time when you apply for the visa at the consulate in your home country, so in the United States, you have about 90 to 120 days before that visa will be approved. In that period of time, you don't have anything more than your standard tourism visa to move around Europe. Once that's approved, then you have 120 days to relocate to Portugal. In that period of time, you have very limited amount of movement that you can do until you receive your residency card. That's the second step. That's your IMA appointment. And so what we need to make sure that we are clear on is you can be working, yes, absolutely, through this whole period of time. But your travel could be limited depending on where you are in the stages of that visa. So yes, technically, you should be able to travel. Yes, you will be able to work. If you're working for an international company that needs you to travel, it can even be an exception you can apply for. But there are different restrictions depending on the different phases you're in the visa and the residency program. Hey, Tracy, thank you. Yay. It's so great to see everyone. And Johnny, thank you so much. Both are. Lisa, it's great to have you here as well. Thank you all for finding us. That was a little bit of a bump in the road, but really, really appreciate you hanging in there with us. So we are definitely going to be answering all of your questions. So feel free to fire away. We are up, ready, and willing to dive into it. As we were waiting for everyone to find their way here, we were just chatting about June in Portugal and how amazing the festival season is here right now with everything going on from, of course, the World Cup. That's so exciting for Portugal. Portuguese, football is one of the pillars of their society, to all of these fantastic individual festivals from the smallest village all the way to Lisbon and Porto and everywhere in between. So absolutely fantastic time of year to visit, to be here, to be participating. And if you are here, I really encourage you to get out, not just in your corner of the world, but also, go explore some of the other areas, because you really get a slice of Portuguese life by checking out the local festivals, especially. So Johnny is saying you're bringing your best friend, your dog, Abby, with me. I know that a lot of the timing is based on approval, but does it make sense for me to try to plan my actual move in the fall because of the restrictions on pet travel during summer months? Absolutely. If you are able to jump over the heat of the timing when we're knowing that the tarmacs are going to be over 82 degrees, then it really does make sense. Because if you're trying to bring your dog through or cat and they're going to go in the animal hold on the plane, they will restrict when they take those animals based off of the temperature. So either you need to do night flights and be really aware of the temperatures, or try to work through the latter part of the fall to schedule your move, or of course, winter and spring, but avoiding the summertime twofold. One, it's the temperatures, but it's also the planes are very, very crowded. So coordinating tickets to get on the flight with your animal can be really challenging. So it's a good idea to look to be away from the summer months if you can. Absolutely. All right. The new link just came, missed the first 10 minutes. I'm so sorry, Mitch. We are just diving in right now. We've been kind of holding, I've been like chatting to the air. So as soon as you have your questions, throw them in here, because we'd be happy to chat with you for sure. So we are taking questions right now. We're just getting, people are just starting to jump in. We will continue to go as long as we need to, and as long as it works for you, to make sure that your questions are all answered. So queue them up, let us know what's on your mind, and we will dive right into that. A lot of people are asking if we're seeing anything about any movements on appointments for the visas, and we've been seeing a little bit more availability than there was certainly 6 months ago. San Francisco, Washington, D.C., still tricky to get them, but we are seeing more appointments available. And now that they only require one appointment for a family applying on one visa, that is helping as well. I know that's top of mind for a lot of people trying to get that visa appointment. So definitely something that's happening here at Portugal to Place that we've added into our service package without adjusting the cost. The support for the visa we've had, but we are now helping you find your appointments as well. And it's worked really well. We've been able to really help people get through that. So Mitch, you're asking about visa info, healthcare for Americans, and cost to live there. Wow. Okay. You're going to give me a lot to chat about. So that's great. So visa info, primarily we have two visas that most people that are looking to move to Portugal are considering. You have the passive income visa, which is the D7. D7, you hear it referred to as the D7, the retirement visa or the passive income visa. And then you also have the D8 visa, which is also referred to as the digital nomad visa or the working remote visa. Really, they're the exact same experience. It's just one considers passive income to see how you'll sustain yourself living in Portugal, and the other one uses a work contract or your work income to show how you sustain yourself. So those two visas both require that you apply from your home country. There are additional visas as well. There is a host of different ones. There's the golden visa that's for investments only. That's where you need 500,000 to enter into an investment contract with Portugal. There are the student visas. There are entrepreneurial visas. There's a variety of other visas, but primarily most folks are looking at either the passive income visa or the digital nomad visa. So one or the other is what most folks are using. And so if you're considering one of these two, we're trying to decide which one works best for you, Mitch. That's certainly a call we would be happy to have with you in person and dive into the details. But at a high level, passive income is income that you don't actively work for. So what that means is it could be pensions, Social Security, disability income, dividends coming off of annuities or investments, rental property where you receive a confirmed amount of money from a variety of rentals, just anything that's going to be coming to you in what they call a passive way, where you're not working to receive that income. And then secondly, the D8 visa would be a work contract, something that shows that you can work remotely, that you can continue the work that you have, or perhaps you own a business and you're able to show contracts and everything that you'll be able to continue to do your work as well. So when it comes to the two visas, those are the types of income that separate them. You don't have to be retired to do the passive income visa. If you're a younger person and you've invested and you have some rental income, that absolutely qualifies for passive income, and vice versa. A person that's getting close to retirement age could still be working and come over on the D8. So it's just about the income. The minimum requirement for the D7 or the passive income for one person is going to be right at €1,000 a month. Okay. Then you need equivalent to that in your bank in Portugal to show that you have 1 year's worth to sustain yourself on top of verifiable 1 year worth, one a month of 1,000 a month. The D8 is going to be 3,250 euros per month for the first person, but you still only need about 12,000 minimum in your bank account for that. So the income requirements are different. And the second person is 50% of the first person's amount. And then if you have dependents, that becomes an additional 30%. So there's equations depending on the size of your family. So Mitch, for healthcare for Americans, as soon as you become a resident in Portugal, you will have all the rights and access to the public health system that any Portuguese citizen has. So that's one of the advantages of the visas. But most Americans, and it is required for the visa, will carry private health insurance. It's very accessible, it's very developed, the technology is amazing, and you have a lot of choices of private healthcare in Portugal. So it's absolutely not an issue as an immigrant to get private health insurance. It's required for the visa, and it can be a really surprisingly affordable compared to what most Americans are comparing it to. Cost to live in Portugal just runs the gamut. If you're looking at Lisbon or the Algarve, you may be looking at some of the more expensive real estate and definitely need to adjust accordingly. Lisbon is a European capital city and definitely carries the price tag that goes with it being one of the most in-demand capital cities in all of Europe. So if you're looking for Lisbon, you need to be prepared for that cost for both renting and purchasing. If you are looking elsewhere, if you're looking to go, say, for the Silver Coast or central Portugal, if you're going north of Porto, these areas can have significant drops in cost and the daily cost of living can be dramatically different. That's a conversation we should have one-on-one so we can talk about your lifestyle, what you're hoping to have, what your perceived budget would be, and seeing what it would align with. But absolutely, Mitch, that was a great way to kick everything off because most folks are talking about which visa works for them, and healthcare is always top of mind for most people coming out of the United States. All right. So Lisa is saying, my husband and I are very interested in becoming clients of PTP. Our move is planned for 2028. How far in advance should we sign up with your services? Well, you can certainly schedule a call to chat through what your hopes are for that plan in 2028. But what's crazy is 2028 isn't that far from now. A lot of our clients that are signing up and starting the strategic planning process with us are signing up now because with these different extended periods of time for approvals. So 120 days for approval for the D7 or D8 once you go to the consulate, then 120 days to move. And you've got all the planning in between and getting all of your documents and paperwork. It's crazy how close 2028 is. So it really depends on when you want to move in 2028, because if you're looking first quarter 2028, now is absolutely the time to sign up for a call. Certainly, let's chat about what you're looking to do, and then have a strategic plan in place to help you get together everything in the correct order. They're complex steps, and we want to make sure everything is done in the right order and do our best to mitigate the stress that is naturally going to come with relocating to a foreign country. All right. So Tracy's asking for the minimum requirements for the D7. So to what I was just speaking to, the income requirements for one person, that minimum is 1,000 per month, and then that 12,000 minimum in the bank, in a Portuguese bank account, which is required. Now, here's the thing. They are going to be examining your visa application, and they don't like to see people right on the minimum. So we always encourage people to look at your financial plan and see where you're at and how you can show the most financial stability. The other things that are going to be required are going to be FBI background check. That's required to make sure that you don't have any felonies or anything that would cause you not to be welcomed in Portugal. You are going to be required for that income to show that you've been receiving it for 3 months at least. Some now are preferring 6 months proof that you've been receiving that income before you make that application. So it isn't sufficient to say, I'm going to get Social Security by the time I get approved. You actually have to show that you've been receiving it before you can go apply. You also need the health insurance, the private health insurance, and you need what's called a gap visa insurance for the application. And you need that accommodation piece. That is the most important piece. And that is one of those things where people feel very cart and horse. You have to get your accommodation before you can apply. You will pay for a property before you live in it. There isn't any way to mitigate that. No landlord has any incentive to rent it but not receive income, because they could rent it to someone else that could start paying right away. So you want to plan in your moving expenses to have at least 6 months of expenses at the home that you've either purchased or rented before you're physically living in it. So that's utilities, that is either your rent, or if you purchase it, your mortgage would start, or if you do cash, that would be just your utilities and such. So accommodation for a lease is 12 months. That is a minimum requirement, a 12-month legal and licensed lease. They will check everything. They have gotten very, very strict in the last year. So if you've seen any postings that say you can use an Airbnb or it can be a throwaway, they are making you now present a document from the landlord that has notarization and recognized signature saying you will actually physically be living in this property. So times have changed. Unfortunately, some people that decided to try to break the rules have caused it to make a very cumbersome process where they're asking for more proof. If you want to buy a property, that's totally fine. You don't have to have closed on the final deed, but you will have to have an executed promissory contract, which is the first stage showing you're buying the house, with a deposit. So those are the requirements for any of the visas to get started. All right. So Jess is saying, I have several questions. What is the best way to speak to you or someone from your agency to go over my list of questions? That's great. It's as simple as scheduling a Zoom call. On our website at portugaltheplace.com, there is a calendar link where you can just pick a time that works for you, and we'd be happy to go over it. We don't ever charge for calls, and we're certainly happy to have more than one if you need to go through the details, because it's a really significant process. So just go to portugaltheplace.com and just click on book a consultation, and you can pick the time, and we'll do a Zoom call with you, get to know you, understand what you need and what you're looking for, and hopefully answer all of those questions that you have in front of you. So absolutely, Jess, we look forward to talking with you. All right. I know 2028 does feel like forever. I can't believe I'm talking about 2028. Like I'm still kind of stuck in 2020. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it's 2026 already. But yeah, 2028 is really right around the corner when it comes to getting prepared for the visa process and making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, because lots of different steps that if we don't get them in the right order can kind of trip you up later. All right. What are the requirements moving to Portugal when one person holds a European passport? Well, if you are a European passport holder, that is one of the easiest ways to move to Europe. If you are married to somebody that is a European passport holder, then you have the benefit of being able to move simply through what's called family reunification. So if you're a European passport holder, the advantage you have is if you are part of the EU, then you can come to Portugal, just register. You still need to show you have a property in Portugal. You just register your new address and you begin to show that you live in Portugal. Simple as that. If you're the spouse, if you're legally married to a person with a European passport, you have two options. You can either apply for your own visa just to go through the process and make sure you're working towards citizenship in that format, or you can family reunify. And family reunification is that you go in and you make an appointment with immigration, with IMA in Portugal, and you say, I am moving with a European citizen or a Portuguese citizen, and I would like to have the rights to live in Portugal. So it's also a visa, but it's a different process. All right. Do you have suggestions for exploratory trips? So, Tracy, that's one of the things that we do. Location immersion is one of our first entry ins that a lot of people like to start with us, because we set them up differently. As opposed to coming over on holiday or kind of wandering around and not being completely clear on where to go or what area to spend time in, we work with our folks in advance to understand what they have as a budget, what they want for their lifestyle. Say, for example, they're cyclists. What are areas that have great cycling trails and access to safe roads and all of those type of things. And then we build an itinerary together, not only for the time that you spend with us, which is a minimum of 3 days spread out over your visit, but we also help you coordinate the other days to make sure that on your own, when you're out and enjoying time on your own, you're also knowing where to go and what to look at and how to connect the dots. We really believe in less is more. Trying to do as much homework in advance to reduce the amount of white noise that you end up with. Because if you try to see everything in 7 to 10 days, if you're like, I've got 10 days and I'm going to see Portugal from the top to the bottom, it will all just blend together. It's too much. Portugal is a small country, size of the state of Indiana, but there is a lot to see. And truly, the people that get the most out of these types of trips are when you're very, very focused, you're very intentional, and you've worked through what you're hoping to accomplish, what your expectations are, but still have the flexibility to explore. So if you're coming over and you're looking at it as trying to do the whole entire country, I would really encourage you to take a step back, because you'll learn the most about Portugal in the quiet moments. Absolutely. All right. Hey, Pat, what are the past, present proof of tax filings required for the D7 visa? Sorry, I don't know why that was a hard sentence to say. So for all of the visas, what they're asking to see is 2 years worth of your tax returns, your federal tax returns, the front page. You don't have to do all of the pages for like a long form, but the full summary page. So 2 years of tax returns they are asking for. Now, here's something really important, Pat, and this is really important. The VFS checklist. So VFS Global is a contractor that runs most of the consulates in the United States, and they have a checklist on the consulate sites. Their checklist is not up to date. It is not going according to what they're asking for in the appointments. So it's really, really important to come bearing everything you can think of, because we're finding people are being told to have things that were never on the checklist. So when I'm saying 2 years worth of tax filings, that's what we're seeing. That's what they're asking for, but they don't actually clarify that on any the checklist. They're also not saying things like notarized marriage certificates, but they're getting asked for that when you go to the appointment. Apostilled FBI checks now are absolutely required, but not all the checklists are updated. So when you work with a company like us, that's one of our jobs is we constantly get feedback from our most recent attendees at these appointments. And everyone is so great about paying it forward and being like, okay, so I was asked for 4 color copies certified of my passport, not just 2, like the sheet says. I was asked for this, I was asked for that. And then we compile that and just keep making sure we have the latest information available to you when you go and apply. So Mitch is saying, if we move a larger sum of money to a Portugal bank, are they insured like FDIC in the US? Yes, they have insurances up to certain amounts, depending on the bank and the type of account that you move them to. They have investment accounts, they're backed, and Portuguese banks are also part of an EU banking system with some significant regulations that are in place across the EU. So absolutely. So the money is definitely has insurance up to certain amounts, depending on which type of an account you open. All right. So Johnny's saying, my plan so far is to apply for Social Security in January of 2027, wait about 3 months to show a passive income trail, and then apply sometime in the spring of 2027 with a move in the fall. My question is, I do have a 401k that I'm able to get structured payments from now. Would that count as passive income, or the 55 payments a better option? Well, your distributions from your 401k absolutely count. That's not an issue at all. It's just depending on when you want to move and when you want to show that income. If you start drawing down on your 401k in combination with your Social Security, that would just make you look that much stronger. But if you have sufficient Social Security to fulfill the requirements and you don't feel like it's putting you right on the margin, then as long as you've got that 3 months going before you apply, that is a really good plan. And for spring of 2027, we should be in the process of starting your journey right now, from NEEFs to bank accounts, making sure you've got everything pre-planned so that as soon as we're within the window to get you your accommodation, we can be ready and we can start looking for those appointments. So you are right on track and getting close. Spring of 2027 is not as far away as one would think. All right. What are the requirements moving to Portugal? Oh, I think we already had this question with European passports. So we've got that one. All right. Are there U.S. equivalent schools for middle and elementary going schools? Any information regarding health insurance? So there are definitely international schools with a U.S. Curriculum. Absolutely. You'll find them in Coimbra, Porto, Algarve, Lisboa. That's not an issue at all, even in the Leiria district. So that's not a problem for middle school and elementary school. For health insurance, your private health insurance is going to be coming through a variety of companies, everyone from MGen to Allianz. There's all types of different options. And private health insurance in Portugal is very, very affordable. And one of the things a lot of people coming out of North America, out of the United States, really don't understand is that the private insurance is giving you access to private clinics, private doctors, but everyone in the country has the same access and the same cost for prescriptions, for example. So your insurance that you purchase will have nothing to do with your insurance. Or with your prescriptions. That will all be through the state run health system. Same with ambulances, because that's considered a right in Portugal. Everybody will have access to the ambulances. That's not an insurance thing that you'll have to pay for. So you don't have different levels of care when it comes to emergency services, prescriptions, things like that. Where private health insurance comes in is your access to the private health system, the private hospitals, the private doctors and specialties that may be difficult to get into in Portugal. Or if you really want to have more English-speaking doctors, if that's really important to you, the private system by far will have more of those than the public system. All right. I'm torn between Portugal and Spain. What would you say to this? Well, that's a great question. I live in Portugal, so I'm biased. I can't say that I'm not. For my family and for us and for many of us that have moved to Portugal, there was 2 main things. One, safety. Portugal is the 7th safest country in the world. It definitely has a culture and climate of peace and tranquility, and it is incredibly, incredibly kind country. The people of Portugal are amazing. So in that aspect, there's just no comparison. When it comes to Spain and Portugal, you know, one of the things about Spain is that about 95% of Spanish people live on the coastline, you know, the interior. It's a vast country, but the interior is very hot and very arid. And so outside of like Madrid and some of the larger countries in the interior, most people are pushing out towards the coastline. What that means is you will find some very, 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 very affordable real estate in the centers of Spain in the interior, but you know, there's some trade-offs. It is substantially hotter in Spain. The interior can be very isolated. So, you know, depending on budgets, you can find some things that I feel like are competitively less expensive in Spain, but we have to keep in mind kind of like the amenities and where you are. I think that they both have great pros and cons. I really do. For me, though, the kindness of the culture, the access to everything in Portugal, just the feasibility of living here and the ease of the visa process as far as the amount of income you need and being able to move through the process. They're all bureaucratic nightmares, but Portugal definitely has that welcoming feeling. So we're Portugal the place. So for us, Portugal is definitely hands down the option. So Mitch is asking, as we age, do they have like assisted living and or nursing facilities? They do, and they're starting to have more and more of them. What's interesting is Portugal is a country of multi-generational families, and the traditional way that things have been handled is that grandma and grandpa, the elderly parents, things like that, just naturally live with the families, with the children. There has been a shift to providing more assisted living and nursing facilities as the immigrant population has grown. You'll see more of these kind of communities down around Lisboa, around the Algarve. You're starting to see more of them. The other thing that you'll see is there's a lot of in-home care. There's a lot of in-home care support that you can find in Portugal that they really work to try to keep you in your home as long as possible. And so there's a lot of access to in-home care that is a lot more affordable than you would expect. All right. And Veda is saying, I learned yesterday that animals shipped via cargo can be shipped at night to avoid the heat embargo. I'm going through Atlanta in September. Absolutely. Those night flights and going out at night can be the way to manage that. But we are finding if you're in Arizona, if you're in California, if you're in some of these places that can still be in the high 80s at night, you still have to be aware of that because they won't ship them. But that's a great point, Veda. So Rob is saying, we plan to seek permanent residency after 5 years. Must we purchase private health insurance for the entire time we were working towards permanent residency? Must I purchase it when a permanent resident? Bottom line, when is private health insurance no longer mandatory? Yes, for the whole time of living here on what's called the temporary residency, which is the 5-year path, you have to have private health insurance and they will ask you for proof of that. The only time you can let the private health insurance go is when you transfer over to citizenship. So you will be asked at the beginning of your permanent residency to show proof of your health insurance as well. Now, that is a period of time in the permanent residency as soon as you hit. So you get a 10-year permanent residency after 5 years. In the middle of that, you will have had sufficient time. You will have had 10 years to be able to apply for the citizenship. So technically, if you decided to apply for citizenship, you'd be able to drop that off in the middle of the permanent residency. So Francie is saying, I live in Colorado and we are a cottage industry state. I am a part-time baker. Does Portugal have anything close to a cottage industry? Well, yes, that's kind of what Portugal is. It's really interesting that you say that because Portugal is made up of almost entirely like a cottage industry, small bakers, artisans, craftspeople, people that are creating things with their hands, offering products and services in that manner. It has a very, very, very small industry / corporate type of a economy here. And that's a pro and a con. As being a part-time baker, for example, Portugal is steeped in tradition of baking everything from community breads to bakeries that are thriving even in the smallest of little towns and everything in between. When you're looking at things like ceramics or anything like that, you're going to find that that's going to be one of the main sources of income that the Portuguese people have leaned on. And even if they have a corporate position or working for now some of the burgeoning tech industry in Portugal, they also still continue to do some of these things on the side. So if that's something you love, it's certainly readily available here in Portugal, and really just part of their entire foundation of who they are. All right. So Em said, I heard you say health insurance is affordable, but we haven't found one we can afford, coming in at 500 euros per person per month. Am I looking in the wrong place? We're on Social Security, so 1,000 euros per month is a lot. Well, there are definitely different aspects that can affect it. It is affordable in relation to what people are paying elsewhere. So that's certainly something we have to consider. But also age can be a significant factor. Age definitely can affect, and for most of the companies, pre-existing conditions will be a factor as well. Because you have a national health system, they don't require the pre-existing conditions to be covered because there is a safety net. There's a national health system. So it depends on what you're looking for. So that is definitely something. So between age, health, medical exams, things like that, all those things can be affecting the insurance offered. Right now in Portugal, MGen is one of the only companies that offers private health insurance without a medical exam. And they are definitely a premium because of that. So perhaps if you haven't explored some of the other ones, that may be affecting it. But we have a lot of different options to be able to help folks navigate that. We have a fantastic insurance broker that we partner with that can go through and look at everything before you start actually going in and applying. But there's a lot of factors, and that's definitely for the specialists. But in general, it's affordable compared to what people would pay for private health insurance in the United States. So Johnny is saying, I just want to say that I've done a ton of research into relocation management companies. I consider myself an experienced planner. In my opinion, PTP is by far the best service out there. Oh, thank you. And yes, I became a client about a month ago, and the experience so far has been amazing. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much. We're just excited to be on the journey with people and hopefully be available to you for every kind of up and down and bump in the road, because this is a journey for sure. And we start with you at the visa process and getting you organized and ready, and work all the way through to the renewals, the IMO appointments, your arrival, your furry friends, all of that. So for us, it's just such an honor to be part of the entire process, not just one small segment of it. All right. I have been a citizen of Portugal for 20 years now. What will happen to my 401k back in the States? Oh, that's a great question, and not one that I know how to answer. And I do apologize. That's certainly more of a tax question and an accessibility question that I would definitely speak to your financial advisor. You could probably reach out to whomever's managing your 401k back in the United States and explain your situation and have them give you a high-level overview and then advice on where to go to. But that's definitely falling in the financial side, and we can't get into those kind of details specifically at this level. And then Pat, have you continued to hold on to renew your US passport? Yes, absolutely. Two reasons. One, I'm not a citizen of Portugal yet. So I need a passport. But two, when I looked into renouncing US citizenship, the requirements and the financial impacts, I don't know that I'll ever do that. But individually, people make that decision. But right now, I'm working towards my Portuguese one, and I definitely need my American one. All right. If we plan to move in 3 to 6 months from the United States, what are the most important steps we need to have in place so we can make that move happen? Well, if you are intending to plan your move physically in 3 to 6 months, you should already have your visa appointment, because once you've had your visa appointment, then you have 90 to 120 days for approval. So if you're looking to move as a visa holder to Portugal in the next 3 to 6 months, you would have to have already had your NIF, your bank account. You would also have to have your accommodation and have had or be very close to having your scheduled visa appointments. So right now, you should definitely be past the planning stages and in the active stage of application. So Rob is saying, we are seeking a D7 with accompanying spouse visa. I understand that my wife will attend my VFS meeting with me, so we are making just one appointment. How do I demonstrate to VFS that my wife is accompanying me on the D7 visa? Is there a way to otherwise inform them before I arrive for the meeting? No, I really wish there was, Rob. I wish they made it a lot easier. You're going to fill out the application. She's going to fill out the application. You're going to have everything. You're going to have the appointment, and you're going to show up and be like, and she's with me, and they're going to say, okay. So unfortunately, they haven't adjusted for the fact that they're now taking spouses, family in these meetings. They haven't changed. I swear, if I could just talk to someone at VFS and say, update your stuff, everybody's life would be so much easier. But no, they haven't updated their forms to show it yet. So Jess is saying, Colleen, I did set up my appointment, but had 2 quick questions. We are coming from San Diego. Is Algarve the area that's closer to the year-round climate of San Diego versus other areas? Plus, how do home prices in that area compare to San Diego? It's so funny, Jess, that you just asked that, because I'm working with a couple right now from La Jolla, and we were just having that conversation. So the Algarve is a little bit more. So the Algarve is the driest part of Portugal. It has the least amount of rainfall per year. And in the summer, it has some of the hottest temperatures along the coastline. You can definitely score temperatures up into the high 90s and hundreds. It's also by far the densest population of tourists that are going to come on the coastline from June through September. It is intense on the Algarve. And then in the winter, you can see a distinct change, and a lot of businesses close down in January, like Albufeira becomes almost a ghost town because people take that time off to recover. With that being said, it also reminds you a lot of some of Southern California, where you get that desert kind of feel with the scrubby, kind of scrubby trees and brown that comes down to the water. And the green that you see in the palm trees is all kind of artificially there. It has that feel of like a Florida, like if you're on the west side of the Algarve, you'll get a lot of that kind of high rises, Portimao, those different places. You get that kind of vibe. The east side of the Algarve is a little more mellow, but different feel. If you want what looks and feels more like San Diego, and I used to live in Southern California, so firsthand information on this as well, you're definitely, the Silver Coast is going to feel around Nadaduro, around Foz de Aurelio, around San Martino de Porto, Nazaré. You get more of that temperate climate, so nothing gets too extreme one way or the other. Right now today, it was 80 degrees here. It was absolutely beautiful. I was in Nazaré for brunch this morning, and it's consistently the same. It doesn't get too cold, doesn't get too hot. So if you want an ocean view property that has like an unobstructed ocean view villa that's standalone on the Silver Coast, that you want to have that's like modern construction, you could still be looking at like 1.5 to 2 million euros. But comparatively, that is still really affordable. And of course, you live in California, so you know that number is not realistic at all in California. If you want to live in a neighborhood that has a ocean view, or you're close to the water, you can get into homes somewhere around the 700,000. If you want to move away and not have an ocean view, but be close enough to go to the beach in a couple of minutes, you can be down in the 400,000, 300,000. So apartments, totally different conversation. So Silver Coast still has an amazing amount of opportunities, hands down. The Algarve is definitely discovered, and the prices are reflecting that. All right, so let's see. So Johnny's saying, do you need a home address in the US to keep renewing your US passport? No, you do not. No, you can renew your passport through the US consulate here in Portugal. Can the visa appointment be virtual? Not anymore, Mitch. I'm so sorry. They're making all the visa appointments be in person. So depending on your geographic location, you have to go to the consulate that is your geographic location, and that's where you will go in person. They are no longer allowed to do those virtual. So Vet is saying, am I to understand that it's nearly impossible to get a consulate appointment in Washington, D.C.? I've been told Miami or Dallas would be easier to go to. And do I need to go in person to the consulate for any reason, like apostille? Okay, so depending on where you live, Washington, D.C. is one of the main consulates on the East Coast. And then there are a couple of auxiliary consulates that are taking visa appointments. That would be Miami and that would be Houston, not Dallas, Houston. So you have, if you live in Washington, D.C. area in the geographical footprint, you have the option to go to those other two as well. We are finding appointments for clients, but it is definitely a concerted effort and you have to be patient because we will be looking at all of them geographically to see what we can snag. And you need to have everything ready so that you give yourself time to get that appointment. Because if you take and you grab an appointment that's in 2 weeks and you don't have your accommodation, for example, you'll never be ready in time. So really important to be strategic and we work through that timeline to make sure that you're prepared and you've got that appointment. Now, nothing can be done virtual. You will go in person to your appointment. Your apostille, however, does not go through the consulate. That goes through the Secretary of State for the state you live in, and you can send that virtually. You'd be able to send that off through Monument, for example, which is a company that handles your documents, or you can go through the process of sending it in to your Secretary of State. But all of your collected documents, everything needs to be done before your appointment, and you will have to go in person for your appointment. Can my niece get citizenship if I have it? No, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So the only way that somebody can get citizenship, if you have citizenship, is through marriage, and that is also has residency requirements and things like that. Since you mentioned it, how costly is it to renounce one's U.S. citizenship? Well, it depends on your assets because there is a variety of math out there. There are some companies saying there's ways to mitigate this. And quite frankly, I've never gone down the rabbit hole to see how much they can save. But on paper, it's about 20% of all of your assets to renounce it. So that's what I looked at. And I was like, no, thank you. I don't think it's worth it. But there are companies out there, lawyers, that say that they can set you up so that impact is not so big. I haven't yet found anybody that has successfully renounced without having a massive impact on their finances. So Pat is saying, my US passport is due to expire in 2028. Do you recommend getting it renewed into? Yes, absolutely. Get that passport renewed because you want as much time on it as possible. Because if it's within 6 months of expiration, it can throw everything off in all of the approvals. So get your passports renewed as soon as possible. So John is asking, I have an EU passport while my wife has a US passport. Can she move to Portugal as the spouse of a EU passport holder, or does she need to apply for a D7 visa? She can absolutely go with you, John. That's no problem at all. She would come over. You guys would have to have an address. You would register as an EU passport holder at the local junta, which is your city hall, that you have an address in Portugal and that you're now residing in Portugal. And then she would be applying for an IMA appointment to family reunify with you. So absolutely she can do that. And that's one of the benefits of being an EU passport holder. So Rick is asking, if you have your visa appointment rejected for some reason, do you have another opportunity to reapply? Absolutely. So unless you're rejected for something like a criminal record, that will not be reevaluated. And just for information, it isn't going to take you out of the game completely if you've had an arrest or something in the past. What they're looking at is if you would have gone to jail in Portugal for that crime and how far long ago it was and what the circumstances were. But in general, if your application is denied for something to do with, say, you didn't disclose something that they found on your FBI report, or they just said, nope, that's not going to be approved, that's one that you really can't reapply. There's not much you can do about that. But if it was missing paperwork or something that they didn't think was enough finances, you can adjust whatever their reason was and you can appeal or you can reapply. So that's an absolute thing you can do. So Mitch is saying, what is an area close to Lisbon, but maybe 39 to 69 minutes away for lower housing? So I like your numbers, Mitch. 39 to 69 minutes away. I like this. So you could go to the Silver Coast, for example, and the Silver Coast can definitely be an area where you're going to see a significant reduction in the cost of housing. If you're talking about renting or purchasing, those things can vary, but you can rent in Caldas de Reina, for example, which is 45 minutes away from Lisbon, and you can see 25% or more reduction in the cost of rent. If you go up north, if you go a little bit above, up towards Leiria or some smaller towns, if you head out towards the Setúbal Peninsula, towards Pamela, that area, you can definitely find savings. But remember, there are certain areas that are just less, but less definitely usually means a compromise. The lifestyle, the experience, all those things will be something you'd want to consider. And we walk you through that, Mitch. We help you compare. We do market analysis. Before we ever start looking for properties, we really make sure that you're aligned with the focus, the amount, that your budget is what you want, and that you're prepared when we get looking, and that the area is something you're really comfortable with. So we don't want to just move you just for the sake of the price. We want to make sure you still have the lifestyle that you're looking for as well. So Adrienne is saying, what's the best site to view homes for sale in the Silver Coast? So it is a couple of major sites. Idealista and Supercasa are still the largest clearinghouses, platforms where people can put up advertisements and properties for sale. They are pretty good, and you'll see a good variety, but it's certainly not everything. Like when we work with clients, so we're not real estate agents, by the way. I don't work on commission. I work with my clients and work with them all the way through the entire process. My first job and my most important part of what I do with you is to make sure you're educated and prepared, and that you're understanding every step and getting connected with vetted professionals, vetted properties. So when I say Idealist and Supercasa, that's absolutely where lots and lots of great listings are put up there. But in Portugal, it still has a lot to do with who you know, individuals that are putting properties up in what's called off market, developers that are still old school and they don't do anything online. And so, especially in smaller areas like the Silver Coast, Lisbon's definitely more cosmopolitan and has a different way of going about it. It's the connections. And that's something, across Portugal, we've been really proud of being able to develop, from Viana do Castelo to the Algarve to everything in between. You have to be available. You have to know where things are and what's happening. And with me, because I don't work on commission, I don't threaten any of the different folks out there. So I can go in and say, hey, what do we have coming up next? And help people navigate that and find opportunities that don't always show up on those platforms. But for fun, for shopping, for looking around, Idealista and Supercasa are the big two that are going to have the most available. So let's see, from TikTok, I am 48 years old and want to move to Portugal. Can I find work there? So it's very difficult to find work in Portugal, and it's very difficult to find work that is going to be something that would pay, that would give you the kind of lifestyle that most folks are looking for. Now, what most people are doing when they're looking to relocate, they're looking for remote jobs with international companies where they can live and work in Portugal, but they're not working for a Portuguese company. You need to get a sponsored visa to work here. It's a very different process, and it's very difficult to find a living wage job in Portugal that would be sufficient for the working visa, and they would need to sponsor you. So my best advice would be, look at the skills you have, look into the remote work, establish yourself with that company, create at least 3 months worth of income, and then start applying for that position, for the visa, using that position as your income. All right. I love all the questions. You guys are great. This is fantastic. Is it difficult to register as a freelancer? Absolutely not. There's a lot of folks here that are doing freelancing, consulting, that are on Upworks, that use a variety of platforms. It's as simple as just identifying your field within the finance portal, and it's very, very simple here in Portugal. So that's not difficult at all. All right, so another from Instagram here is, what are the rules with using a passive income passport for a married couple? What qualifies as a source of passive revenue? So for a married couple, it's the same as an individual. So whoever has the passive income, it will count. And that can be a combination of anything that you would be receiving that is verifiable that isn't from a work contract. So for example, that would be your Social Security, that would be your pensions, that would be drawing down off of an annuity or an investment, 401k. That would be rental income. If you're renting out property and that is sufficient to cover the two of you, that would be certainly viable. Anything that's coming to you, disability income, anything like that that's set that you can prove that you get on a monthly basis that isn't to do with a work contract is what qualifies you for the passive income. Another one from Instagram. I have to reschedule a consulate appointment in order to show enough passive income. How soon after do they approve? Trying to figure out our home sale here. So you definitely need to show enough passive income. And then after you go in for that consulate appointment, you're looking at a 90 to 120 day approval time. If you don't qualify, you will hear right away. This is really important for anyone out there that's sitting and waiting. If you have a problem with your application, they will tell you usually within the first couple of weeks. You will get an email asking for more documentation, saying you don't qualify from the review of your documents, something like that. So if you had enough to get in and then they send it off and then they start reviewing it, oftentimes within that first 10 days, you'll get an email asking, hey, I need more qualifying information. So if you aren't hearing anything back for 60 days, 90 days, it's kind of like no news is good news. So you can plan on 90 to 120 days for approval from that first appointment. So Marlena, hey Marlena, hi. Not near as important as the other questions, but do they play mahjong in Portugal? Absolutely, they do. It's so funny. Did you ask this question in one of the groups the other day? I feel like I just saw this. There are plenty of different groups that are playing mahjong in Portugal. It's something that we're seeing a lot of people asking about and seems to be pretty popular. So yes, they do. So Mitch is asking, so I'm guessing Miami for a consulate, or is there one in Chicago? So there is one in Chicago, but they haven't been taking visa appointments recently. So you would definitely be looking at Miami. Washington, D.C. would be your main point. And then depending on where you geographically are, you could look at Miami, Houston, or Washington, D.C. All right. So if we're moving from US, North Carolina to make transitions smoother for kids in middle and elementary schools, which locations are best? And do you know if there are virtual options with close to US based curriculum? So that's a really very specific question, because without having a one-on-one conversation with you about your budget requirements, if you want to pay international school tuitions, or if you're trying to find a way to navigate like private schools, there's so many different things here that I can't really give you a realistic answer. But we would love to be able to chat with you. Again, the consultation call is complimentary. You can go to portugaltheplace.com and easily schedule that consultation call. And we dive into this. So this is exactly what we do. We help you narrow it down, help you understand if your budget is realistic, what to expect, and then provide you with the best options for you. As far as the virtual with US-based curriculum, there are some very strict rules in Portugal about children's enrollment in different types of school. So that's something we need to speak with you about as well, so that you had all that facts and information. But we'd be happy to have that call with you. All right, so let's see. We have, let's see. So obviously there is no ADA in Europe, but how does Portugal fare from a physical disability standpoint? Thanks for that question, Sean. That's great. So you are absolutely correct. They don't have the exact same kind of really deep, detailed way of having the requirements, but new construction does have building code now that is taking into consideration ability access. So you will find in new construction now that it requires the primary bathroom, the main bathroom of the house, to be large enough and wide enough with doors for a wheelchair to go in and turn around. Elevators need to be larger, doorways need to be wider, access ramps and things like that all need to be included. So on new construction, new buildings, new things like that, you're seeing a lot more consideration. Of course, cobbled streets, old style buildings, historic places, those are definitely something that would have to be considered because of their historic elements and their age. But there's a movement towards creating more accessibility. The bus systems will have like your lifts to be able to get into the bus. And you're seeing more people being able to navigate it. It just really depends on what your circumstances are. But as someone that my mother was in a wheelchair, and I grew up with having to think about everything from steps to access, and then being here with clients that come over with a variety of ability challenges and things that they have to consider, I'm encouraged to see how much Portugal's moving towards that direction and taking everyone into consideration. So before I answer Johnny's question, there's also a QR code. We've added this. We've never done this before. So Fiona's like going, hey, don't forget to tell them you can scan that QR code to be able to schedule an appointment. So that can make it really, really easy for you as well. So if you don't want to go to portugaltheplace.com and look for the meeting link, you can go right to that QR code and you can scan it and you can just schedule your call. So very cool. Thank you, Fiona. That was very good. And I was wondering what that was. It popped up there. So that's what that is. So, all right. Johnny's saying, I'm budgeting about $2,000 for my pet move. She'll be in a crate in the cargo hold. Is that a realistic number? I think so. I'm not totally sure, Johnny, where you're flying from. I mean, the plane tickets alone are one of the big impacts. And boy, are plane ticket costs just all over the place with the fuel issues. But it seems that $2,000 should be enough, but just be aware that you have to have the kennel that's approved for airline travel. You'll have to have the veterinarian certifications, some of that other stuff, but I think it's all going to come down to that plane ticket. All right, so Pat's saying, please comment briefly about car ownership and getting a Portuguese driver's license, buying new and used, insurance, cost of gas, importance of language mastery for driving. Great questions, Pat, thank you. So you can buy a car here in Portugal without being a resident. So as soon as you get here, after your visa is approved, you can buy a car. That's not precluded, and you can do it with an American driver's license. So for many of us, that's what we do immediately when we get here. And of course, the driver's license exchange is a process you can only do after you have your residency card. So after you've had that second appointment in Portugal and you've had that residency number issued. So the very first thing to know is you can buy new or used. There is fantastic dealerships that do pre-owned cars that are very similar to like a CarMax, where they'll register the car. Everything's handled in English. We partner with Benacar, which is the largest one in Portugal, and they have everything on site. You drive off with all of the 300-point check. You have the insurance included for a month. You have the registration done. All of that, easy peasy. So as far as buying a pre-owned car, you can find reputable dealerships in the cars. New, you are doing the same thing that a lot of other places are. You're going to the same types of dealerships. It's absolutely doable, but there is still wait times to receive those cars. There are some waiting lists, especially in the electric car kind of genre, Teslas, BYDs, things like that. You're going to see brands that you've never seen before. That's something to be prepared for. You're not going to be probably looking at brands that you've owned before or purchased. There's very limited amount of American cars here. You do see some Fords. Ford is the largest American brand here, but you're going to see cars from China like BYD, which is an amazing electric car brand. You're going to see Spanish cars. You're going to see tons of other European cars. I never thought in a million years I would own French and Italian cars. So be prepared for looking at brands that you've never considered before. And of course, there's Japanese cars as well. But the cars that are the most affordable to fix here are European brand cars like Fiat, Citroëns, Renaults, cars like that. Other cars like Japanese, American, those are foreign cars. And so repair can be more expensive. Gas right now is higher than it has ever been since I've lived here. There have been things that have been affecting the cost of fuel. So it's definitely something to consider. If you're looking at an electric car, you get a tax break. So electric car can be great, especially if you're not going to be taking long journeys and you just want to use it, you know, for running around, things like that, because the cost of gas right now per liter is right around €2 per liter, give or take. And so that's roughly between $9 and $10 a gallon. So definitely feeling it. It's gone up substantially in the last 3 months. We were at like 150 a liter back in like March. So definitely feeling it, but the Portuguese government has removed some taxes off of the gas, trying to reduce the impact for people. And if you have an electric car, that can be a great option. Language mastery, the signs are pretty straightforward here. You can get through with your Google Translate. You can navigate almost everything, because if you're using your Google Maps and you just put it in English, it'll tell you to take a right, take a left, go here, go there, and you can get comfortable with it pretty fast. And there's universal signs. So the stop sign is the same. You have the do not enter signs. A lot of your signs are similar. You'll have some that you'll need to learn. The parking signs are a little funky, but once you get used to those, you'll find very quickly that you're comfortable. And as far as exchanging your driver's license, you can do it without taking a test or anything, as long as you do it within the time frame on your driver's license and that you have a valid driver's license from the United States. You'll pull your driving record, go through a brief medical exam, turn all that in, and then you'll get a Portuguese driver's license. So I hope that was like a high level on driving in Portugal, but absolutely doable, and lots of great elements that we help folks navigate: the buying, the insurances, all of that. But lots of people do it, and the roads in Portugal are fantastic. The motorways, some of the best I've ever driven on. Oh, hey, yay, Marlena. I don't know how to play Mahjong, but it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. So, all right, fantastic. So we've got some more questions. Let's see. Johnny, I'm working with Pet Relocation International. Yes, Vera, that's a good company. Petrelocation.com is another one. But certainly something to consider looking at the relocation companies. They do door to door. They'll take your pet pick them up, go through the vet process, transport, move them, and bring them to your door in Portugal. But if you're moving them on your own and you're comfortable with that as well, just be really aware of the expiration of the vet certificates, making sure they have the proof of their rabies certificates. All of these things are on a time schedule that you really have to adhere to for sure. All right, so I think we've come through most of the questions. You guys are fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for hanging in there with us with our little kerfuffle at the beginning. Technology is only as good as when it's working. But what I wanted to really say is just how much I appreciate all of you. We are here to answer those questions. I think this QR code is really, really cool. So definitely check that out and make an appointment. We'd love to learn about your plans and the journey that you have. We're all here to help and support you. We have an entire team that's ready to answer your questions. And again, it's from the visa, very beginning process, making sure you have all your documents, everything you need, helping you get that visa appointment, all the way through the whole entire process, supporting you through your IMA appointment, through your renewals. We are here through the whole thing. So we have another webinar coming up in July. So we are going to be doing this again. Hopefully this time StreamYard will be on the same page as us, but we will be here again on that Sunday in July. It's on our website right now. You can sign up for it, and we will send this recording out to everybody that put themselves down and registered. So even if you can't make it and you want to get the recording, certainly register, because then we'll send that out to all of you so you can check it out. Really look forward to meeting you all. Thank you so much. And I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you back here again in July. Thanks, Dale.